I'm Marlene, 22 years old, and today I'm graduating with my nursing degree. First generation college graduate magna cum laude. I should be proud, but something feels wrong as I scan the empty seats where my family should be. My sister's baby shower won out. The ceremony hasn't even started when my phone buzzes. Dad's text reads, "You owe us an apology." My stomach drops. Before I tell you how my graduation day turned into the worst day of my life, let me know where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button if you've ever felt invisible in your own family. Growing up in our middle-class neighborhood in Grand Rapids, Michigan, I always knew where I stood in our family hierarchy. My older sister Amanda, now 28, was the golden child. My younger brother Jacob, 19, was the baby of the family. And me, I was the middle child, who could never quite measure up no matter how hard I tried. Our family dynamic was established early. Dad Richard built a successful career as an insurance agent, working long hours to provide for us. Mom Diana taught part-time at the local elementary school, which allowed her to be home when we returned from school. They were good parents in many ways, making sure we never went without necessities. But emotional validation was distributed unevenly in our household. Amanda was everything my parents dreamed their daughter would be. She was naturally outgoing, strikingly beautiful, with her perfect blonde hair and blue eyes, and socially adept in ways I never managed to be. In high school, she was a cheerleader, homecoming queen, and later prom queen. She dated the captain of the football team, maintained a decent but not spectacular GPA, and was universally adored by teachers and students alike. I, on the other hand, was studious and introverted. I preferred books to parties and found my comfort in learning rather than socializing. My dark hair and hazel eyes didn't match the all-American beauty standard that Amanda embodied so effortlessly. While she was attending football games and planning school dances, I was volunteering at the local hospital and studying for advanced placement exams. Our differences wouldn't have mattered if my parents had valued our individual strengths equally. But from an early age, it became clear that Amanda's achievements were celebrated loudly, while mine were acknowledged quietly, if at all. When Amanda made the cheerleading squad in ninth grade, my parents threw a party and invited the entire extended family. When I was selected for a prestigious summer science program the same year, they responded with a pat on the back and a simple, "That's nice, honey." The pattern continued throughout high school. Amanda's trophies and sashes were displayed prominently in our living room. My academic certificates and awards were tucked away in a folder in my bedroom drawer. Jacob, being the youngest and only boy, received his own brand of attention. His baseball games were family events with both parents attending religiously. My debate competitions, even state-level ones, were often attended by neither. After high school, Amanda followed the script my parents had always envisioned. She attended community college for 1 year before meeting James, the son of a local business owner. They had a lavish wedding when Amanda was 20, with my parents sparing no expense. Amanda dropped out of college after meeting James, but this was never presented as a disappointment. Instead, my parents praised her for finding such a good provider and knowing what really matters in life. I took a different path. Despite receiving partial scholarships to several out-of-state universities, my parents made it clear they wouldn't contribute financially if I left Michigan. So I enrolled at the state university, determined to make my own way. I chose nursing not only because I genuinely wanted to help people, but also because I knew it would lead to financial independence. For 4 years, I worked harder than I'd ever worked in my life. I maintained a 3.9 GPA while working 20 hours a week at the campus library to cover expenses my scholarships didn't. During summers, I worked full-time as a nursing assistant to save for the following year. I rarely came home during breaks, partly because I needed to work, but also because home never felt particularly welcoming. During my sophomore year, I met Thomas in an ethics class we both took as an elective. He was studying engineering and shared my drive for academic excellence. Unlike anyone in my family, Thomas recognized and valued my intelligence and ambition. With his support, the sting of my family's indifference became somewhat easier to bear. Thomas introduced me to his family, who welcomed me warmly. His mother particularly took an interest in my nursing studies and often asked detailed questions about what I was learning. It was the first time I'd experienced that kind of parental interest, and it felt both wonderful and painful. Wonderful to be acknowledged, painful to be reminded of what I'd never had at home. In my final semester of college, just 3 months before graduation, Amanda announced she was pregnant. The news transformed my parents into ecstatic grandparents to be overnight. Every conversation became about the baby. When I called home, the first questions were always about whether I'd heard Amanda's latest pregnancy update, not about my impending graduation or job search. I tried to share their excitement. After all, I would be an aunt, and I didn't want to resent my future niece or nephew. But as my graduation approached and all family discussions centered around Amanda's pregnancy, I couldn't help feeling that once again my achievement was being overshadowed. 6 weeks before graduation, I received my ceremony information. Each graduate was allotted 6 tickets. I immediately called my parents, hoping that with enough advance notice, they would prioritize this milestone in my life. Mom, I just got my graduation information. The ceremony is May 15th at 10 in the morning. I have 6 tickets for you guys. Oh, that's wonderful, sweetie. Dad and I will be there, of course. And Jacob, too. Should we invite Grandma and Grandpa as well? For a moment, I allowed myself to feel hopeful. They would come. They would watch me walk across that stage and receive my diploma. They would finally see the culmination of all my hard work. Yes, I'd love for them to come. They could fly in for the weekend. I'll call them tonight. They'll be so proud to see the first college graduate in the family. I hung up feeling something I rarely felt regarding my family anticipation. Maybe just this once, it would be my turn to be the center of attention. My grandparents booked their flights. My brother confirmed he'd drive in from his community college 2 hours away. Thomas and his parents planned to attend as well. For once, everything seemed to be falling into place. Then 3 weeks before graduation, everything fell apart. Marlene, it's Amanda. I have the most amazing news. We're having a girl. My sister's voice bubbled through the phone as I answered her call while walking back from my clinical rotation. That's great, Amanda. Congratulations. I tried to sound enthusiastic despite my exhaustion after a 12-hour day at the hospital. We decided to move up the baby shower. The 15th works best for everyone. The date registered immediately. The 15th. But that's my graduation day. You know that, right? There was a brief pause before Amanda continued, her voice losing some of its enthusiasm. Well, yes, but this date works so much better for James's family. His mother is going on a cruise the following week, and his sisters are both coming from out of town. Plus, my friend Brittany, who's planning it, can only do it that weekend. But my graduation has been scheduled for months. I told everyone the date back in March. I stopped walking, my free hand clenching into a fist. It's just walking across a stage, Marlene. You can send us pictures. This is my first baby. Don't you want to be there for your niece's shower? Her voice took on the familiar guilt-inducing tone that had been perfected in our family. Of course I want to be there for you, but I can't miss my own graduation. Can't you schedule it for Sunday instead? Or the following weekend? No, it has to be Saturday the 15th. Look, I gotta go. James is calling. Think about it, okay? Family should come first. She hung up before I could respond. I stood on the sidewalk, my clinical bag heavy on my shoulder, feeling a familiar sinking sensation. I already knew what would happen next. The call from my mother came that evening while I was studying for finals. Marlene, about graduation. Her voice had that hesitant quality that always preceded disappointing news. Mom, please don't tell me what I think you're going to tell me. Sweetie, you know how important this baby is to everyone. It's the first grandchild. Amanda really needs family support right now. And I don't. This is my college graduation, Mom. I've worked 4 years for this. Of course you have, and we're very proud of you. But Amanda's shower is a once-in-a-lifetime event. So is my graduation. My voice rose in frustration. Why does her event automatically take priority? Why can't you and Dad split up? One of you come to my graduation, and one go to the shower. You know your father wouldn't attend a baby shower, and Amanda specifically asked that I help host. She's very emotional with the pregnancy hormones. What about Jacob or Grandma and Grandpa? Surely everyone doesn't need to be at the shower. My mother sighed. Amanda really wants everyone there. You know how sensitive she is. Grandma and Grandpa have already changed their flights. They'll be staying with Amanda and James now. The tickets my grandparents had purchased to see me graduate would now be used to attend my sister's baby shower. The irony was almost too much to bear. So no one is coming, no one from my family will see me graduate, I asked, already knowing the answer. Thomas will be there, won't he? And his family. You won't be alone. My mother's attempt at reassurance felt like another slap in the face. That's not the point, Mom. My own family won't be there. I'm sorry, Marlene. Sometimes we have to make sacrifices for family harmony. Amanda would be devastated if we missed her shower. And how do you think I feel about all of you missing my graduation? The question hung in the air between us. You've always been the strong one, the independent one. Amanda needs us more right now. After hanging up, I sat on my bed staring at the wall. The message was clear, as it had always been. Amanda's wants would always outweigh my needs. The next day, I tried reasoning with my father, hoping he might be more objective. Dad, I understand Amanda's shower is important, but couldn't you at least come to my graduation? It's only 2 hours. Marlene, don't make this difficult. Your mother has decided, and we need to present a unified front. It's just walking across a stage. They'll mail you the diploma regardless. It's not just walking across a stage, it's recognition of everything I've worked for. Don't be dramatic. In the real world, no one cares about ceremonies. It's the degree that matters, and you'll have that either way. His dismissive attitude hurt more than my mother's apologetic one. At least she had pretended to understand my disappointment. The final blow came when Jacob called to say he wouldn't be attending either. Sorry, sis. Mom and Dad are really insistent that we all go to the shower. Plus, Amanda said she'd kill me if I skipped out. He at least had the decency to sound genuinely regretful. It's fine, I lied. I understand. I'll try to make it up to you somehow. But we both knew there would be no making up for this betrayal. With each passing day, my anticipation for graduation transformed into dread. The event I had been looking forward to for years now loomed as a painful reminder of my place in the family hierarchy. Thomas was furious on my behalf. This is completely unacceptable. They're your family. They should be there. It's always been this way. I don't know why I expected graduation to be different. Because it should be different. This is a major accomplishment. His parents called to assure me they would be there, proudly cheering me on. My best friend Sophia, who was graduating alongside me, promised her family would adopt me for the day. My parents already think of you as their second daughter anyway, she said. They'll cheer twice as loud to make up for your family's absence. I was grateful for their support, but it couldn't fill the hollow feeling that had taken residence in my chest. As graduation day approached, I found myself having trouble sleeping, replaying conversations with my family, and imagining alternative outcomes where they recognized the importance of my achievement. The day before graduation, I went alone to pick up my cap and gown. Around me, other students were accompanied by proud parents taking photos to commemorate the occasion. I quickly collected my items and left, avoiding the happy family scenes that only emphasized my aloneness. That night, I laid out my graduation dress, a simple navy blue sheath that would be appropriate under my gown. I polished my new shoes, arranged my honor cords, and set my alarm. Despite everything, I was determined to hold my head high the next day. I would graduate with honors, with or without my family's presence. As I finally drifted off to sleep, I allowed myself one last hopeful thought. Maybe, just maybe, one of them would change their mind and show up tomorrow. My alarm blared at 6:30, though I'd been awake since 5, too anxious to sleep. I checked my phone immediately, half expecting to see a message from someone in my family saying they'd reconsidered. There was only a text from Thomas. Today's your day, so proud of you. See you at 9. I forced myself out of bed and into the shower, letting the hot water wash over me as I tried to center myself for the day ahead. This was still my accomplishment, my graduation, my moment, even if my family wouldn't be there to witness it. As I dried my hair and applied minimal makeup, memories of my high school graduation surfaced. My family had attended that ceremony, sitting midway back in the auditorium. I remembered searching for their faces as I walked across the stage, finding momentary comfort in their presence. But even that day had been cut short when they insisted we leave the post-graduation reception early, because Amanda had a dinner date with her then-boyfriend that couldn't be rescheduled. "You already got your diploma, honey," my mother had said. "We need to get Amanda home so she can get ready." I pushed the memory away and focused on the present. I wouldn't let past disappointments taint today. My phone buzzed with a simple "good luck" text from Jacob. At least he had remembered. Nothing from my parents or Amanda. I sent a final text to my mother. "Ceremony starts at 10. Just checking if anyone changed their mind about coming." No response came as I finished getting ready. I put on my dress, checked my appearance one last time, and gathered my cap and gown. My apartment felt unusually quiet, the silence emphasizing the absence of family bustle that should accompany such an occasion. The doorbell rang at exactly 9. Thomas stood there with a bouquet of sunflowers, my favorites. "For the graduate," he said with a smile that didn't quite hide his concern. "How are you holding up?" "I'm fine," I replied automatically, though we both knew it wasn't true. "These are beautiful, thank you." "Mom and Dad are already heading to the auditorium to save good seats. They're excited to see you walk." I nodded, unable to speak past the sudden lump in my throat. Thomas's parents had attended every one of his major life events. The contrast to my situation was stark. Thomas drove us to campus, filling the car with encouraging chatter about post-graduation peas and dinner reservations he'd made for that evening. I appreciated his effort to maintain normalcy, to make this day special despite everything. The university grounds were crowded with families taking photos. Graduates in caps and gowns posed with parents and siblings under flowering trees and beside campus landmarks. I clutched my still unworn gown tighter, keeping my gaze fixed ahead as we navigated through these scenes of family pride. Sophia was waiting for me outside the assembly area, already in her regalia. She rushed forward to hug me. "There's my fellow magna cum laude." She pulled back, studying my face. "My parents are saving seats up front. They brought their good camera for pictures." "That's so kind of them," I managed, grateful yet again for the substitute family I'd found in friends. Sophia's parents appeared, insisting on photos of the two of us together. Mrs. Martinez adjusted my cap, a maternal gesture that nearly brought me to tears. "We are so proud of both of you girls," she said, beaming. "First-generation college graduates. This is a day to remember forever." As Sophia and her parents posed for more family photos, I checked my phone again. Still nothing from my family. The ceremony would begin in 20 minutes. With shaking fingers, I sent one last text to my mother. "About to line up for the procession. Still wishing someone from the family could be here." I watched the screen, hoping for those 3 dots indicating a response was being composed. Nothing appeared. I put my phone away and donned my gown and cap, adjusting my honor cords with determined movements. I would get through this day with dignity. The graduates were organized alphabetically, so Sophia and I were separated in the procession line. Around me, classmates chatted excitedly, comparing notes on which family members had traveled farthest to attend where they were seated, what celebrations were planned afterward. I remained silent, focusing on controlling my breathing and maintaining composure. Just as the procession was about to begin, my phone vibrated in the pocket I'd sewn inside my gown. Hope surged as I quickly checked it. The message was from my father. "Shower about to start. Amanda looks beautiful. Hope your thing goes well." My thing. 4 years of hard work, thousands of hours of studying, countless clinical rotations reduced to my thing. And the contrast with "Amanda looks beautiful" couldn't have been clearer. I turned off my phone completely, not trusting myself to respond appropriately. The processional music began and we filed into the auditorium. I kept my eyes forward as we walked down the center aisle, refusing to look at the empty seats where my family should have been. Instead, I focused on Thomas, who was craning his neck to catch my eye. When our gazes met, he gave me a thumbs up and the biggest smile. His parents waved enthusiastically beside him. In the row behind them sat Sophia's family, including not just her parents, but several aunts, uncles, and cousins who had come to support her. They smiled at me too, these people who barely knew me but had shown up nonetheless. The ceremony proceeded with the expected speeches about future potential, the value of education, and the support of family that had made this day possible. Each mention of family felt like a personal rebuke, a reminder of what I lacked. The valedictorian spoke eloquently about how none of us would be on that stage without the unwavering support of loved ones. Look around at the proud faces of parents who sacrificed to give us this opportunity, she said. This achievement belongs to them as much as to us. I stared straight ahead, focusing on a point at the back of the auditorium, willing myself not to cry. My achievement belonged to me alone. Every tuition payment, every late-night study session, every clinical rotation had been navigated by me without the safety net so many of my classmates took for granted. When they began calling graduates names, I prepared myself. Row by row, students walked across the stage, shook hands with the dean, received their symbolic diploma cover, and moved the tassel from right to left. And row by row, cheers erupted from different sections of the audience as proud families celebrated their graduates. Finally, my row was directed to stand. As I approached the stage, I scanned the audience one last time, still harboring that small, irrational hope that someone from my family might have shown up as a surprise. Marlene Elizabeth Johnson, Bachelor of Science in Nursing magna cum laude. I walked across the stage spine, straight head high. Thomas and his parents erupted in applause. Sophia's family joined in with enthusiastic whistles and cheers. Their support was touching, but the absence of my own family's voices was deafening. The dean shook my hand firmly. "Congratulations, Ms. Johnson. Your academic record is outstanding." "Thank you," I managed, taking the leather folder containing the symbolic piece of paper. My actual diploma would be mailed later. As I moved my tassel from right to left, officially marking my transition from student to graduate, I felt a complex mixture of emotions: pride in my accomplishment, gratitude for the friends who had supported me, and a deep aching sadness that the people who should have cared the most had chosen to be elsewhere. I returned to my seat, diploma cover in hand, and sat through the remainder of the ceremony in a daze. When the last graduate had crossed the stage and the president of the university had conferred our degrees collectively, we stood, moved our tassels in unison, and were dismissed. The auditorium erupted into chaos as families rushed to find their graduates. Thomas found me quickly, wrapping me in a tight embrace. "You did it," he whispered into my ear. "I'm so proud of you." His parents followed, offering congratulations and insisting on photos. Sophia and her family joined us, creating a celebratory circle that almost, but not quite, filled the void left by my family's absence. It wasn't until we were walking out of the auditorium that I remembered to turn my phone back on. When it powered up, a barrage of notifications appeared. 37 missed calls, 15 voicemails, 23 text messages. My heart leapt. Had something happened? Had there been an emergency? The first text I opened was from my father, sent during the ceremony. "You owe us an apology for making us choose. Amanda is very upset." I stopped walking, nearly causing Thomas to bump into me. "What is it?" he asked, concern evident in his voice. I couldn't speak, just handed him my phone. His expression darkened as he read the message. "You've got to be kidding me," he muttered. "They missed your graduation, and you owe them an apology." The other messages and calls were primarily from Amanda, growing increasingly agitated. The first voicemail, left just as the ceremony would have been starting, made her position clear. "Marlene, how could you do this to me? You knew how important this shower was. Everyone keeps asking where my sister is, and I have to explain that you're too selfish to reschedule your stupid graduation walk. Mom and Dad are upset, and it's ruining my special day. Call me back immediately." Each subsequent message grew more hostile. By the final voicemail, Amanda was sobbing, claiming I had deliberately scheduled my graduation to conflict with her shower, as if I had any control over the university's commencement date. Sophia, seeing my distress, gently took the phone from my hands. "Don't listen to any more of these right now. This is still your day." Thomas was livid. "The audacity! They're the ones who should be apologizing to you." His mother, ever practical, suggested we continue with our celebration lunch as planned. "Don't let this spoil your achievement, Marlene. You've worked too hard to let anyone take this day from you." I nodded mechanically, allowing them to guide me to the restaurant. But the damage was done. The joy of graduation had been completely overshadowed by my family's reaction. Not only had they failed to support me, but they had somehow twisted the situation to make me the villain. Throughout lunch, I maintained a facade of enjoyment, smiling for photos and accepting congratulations. But inside, I was replaying my father's text and Amanda's voicemails, trying to understand how my graduation had become something I needed to apologize for. After lunch, Sophia's family invited me to join their extended celebration, but I declined. Thomas offered to come back to my apartment with me, but I asked for some space. I just need a little time alone to process everything, I explained. I'll call you later, I promise. Back in my quiet apartment, I placed my cap gown and diploma cover on the kitchen table. 4 years of hard work culminating in this moment. It should have been one of the happiest days of my life. Instead, I felt hollow, the achievement tainted by my family's absence and subsequent blame. I sat on my couch, finally allowing the tears I'd been holding back all day to fall. I cried for the little girl who had always tried so hard to be noticed, for the teenager who had achieved excellence only to be overlooked, and for the young woman who had just accomplished something significant, without the support of those who should have cared most. When the tears finally subsided, I felt something shift within me. The sadness was still there, but alongside it grew a sense of resolve. I had earned my degree without their support. I had walked across that stage with my head held high, and I would not apologize for any of it. I picked up my phone and composed a simple response to my father. I have nothing to apologize for. The university set my graduation date, not me. I'm sorry you all chose to miss it. Then I turned off my phone again, made myself a cup of tea, and sat with my thoughts, beginning the process of accepting that my family might never be what I needed them to be. The insistent doorbell woke me the next morning. I had fallen asleep on the couch, emotionally drained from the previous day. Glancing at the clock, I saw it was barely 8 in the morning. The doorbell rang again, followed by loud knocking. Groggily, I made my way to the door, peering through the peephole to see Amanda standing in the hallway, her pregnant belly prominent under her floral maternity dress. Her face was flushed, and even through the distorted view, I could tell she had been crying. I considered not answering, but I knew she would only become more insistent. With a deep breath, I opened the door. Finally! Amanda pushed past me into the apartment. I've been calling you since yesterday. Why haven't you answered your phone? Hello to you too, I said, closing the door. I turned it off after seeing Dad's text telling me I owed you all an apology. Well, you do. She whirled to face me, hands on her hips. Do you have any idea how embarrassing it was explaining to everyone why my own sister wasn't at my baby shower? Aunt Karen asked if we'd had a falling out. Grandma kept saying how disappointed she was that you couldn't make time for family. I stared at her, momentarily speechless. Wait, what did you tell them about why I wasn't there? Amanda had the grace to look slightly uncomfortable before her defensive posture returned. I told them the truth, that you had a school thing you refused to reschedule. A school thing, Amanda? It was my college graduation, and I didn't refuse to reschedule it. I couldn't. The university sets the date, not individual students. You could have walked in a different ceremony, she insisted. Or skipped walking altogether. It's not like you don't still get your degree. I worked 4 years for that moment. I wasn't going to skip it because you decided at the last minute to schedule your shower on the same day. Last minute, we've been planning this for weeks, and my graduation date has been set for months. I told everyone about it back in March, including you. Amanda waved her hand dismissively. I don't remember that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you put a stupid ceremony ahead of a real family milestone. My graduation is a real family milestone. My voice rose in frustration. I'm the first person in our family to graduate from a 4-year university. That should mean something. Please, Amanda rolled her eyes. It's just a piece of paper. My baby is an actual person, a new family member. How can you compare the two? I'm not comparing them. I'm saying both events are important, and it's not fair that my entire family chose to attend your shower instead of splitting up so someone could be at my graduation. That's exactly your problem, Marlene. You've always been jealous of me. You've always resented any attention I get. The accusation was so absurd, I actually laughed. Are you serious right now? Your entire life has been one long stretch of attention from our parents. I've been lucky to get occasional acknowledgement of my existence. That is such a lie. Mom and Dad have always bragged about their perfect daughter, Marlene, the straight A student, the one with all the potential. Brag to who? Certainly not in front of me. And definitely not the way they've always showcased you and your accomplishments. You have no idea what it's like living in your shadow. Amanda's voice cracked with emotion. Perfect Marlene who never makes mistakes, never needs help, always has everything together. Do you know how hard that's been for me? I was genuinely baffled. My shadow, Amanda. You've been the center of attention since the day you were born. Every achievement of yours has been celebrated, while mine have been footnotes. That's not true. Mom and Dad have always compared me to you. Why can't you be more like Marlene? Marlene wouldn't have gotten that grade. Marlene would have made better choices. My entire life. When have they ever said that? Give me one example. Amanda faltered momentarily before rallying. They don't say it to my face, but I know they think it. And now that I'm having a baby, you can't stand that I'm getting attention again, so you had to ruin my shower. I didn't ruin anything, I wasn't even there. Exactly. Everyone kept asking about you. It became all about why Marlene wasn't there instead of celebrating my baby. The conversation had taken such a bizarre turn that I felt like I was in some alternate reality. Had Amanda actually convinced herself she was the overlooked sister? That I had somehow orchestrated this situation to steal her thunder? Amanda, I think we have very different perceptions of our family dynamic. But regardless, yesterday was my college graduation. All I wanted was for my family to be there to acknowledge this accomplishment that I worked incredibly hard for. Instead, not only did all of you choose to skip it, but now you're here demanding I apologize for feeling hurt by that. It's not about you feeling hurt. It's about you being selfish and putting your ceremony above family. Before I could respond to this twisted logic, there was another knock at the door. I opened it to find my mother standing there, looking tired and worried. "Oh, thank goodness you're both here," she said, entering the apartment. "Amanda, you shouldn't be getting so upset in your condition. Think of the baby." No greeting for me, no acknowledgement of yesterday's missed graduation. Just immediate concern for Amanda's emotional state. "Mom, she's being completely unreasonable," Amanda said, tears welling in her eyes. "She doesn't care that she ruined my shower." My mother put her arm around Amanda's shoulders. "I know so, sweetheart. Try to calm down." The familiar scene of my mother comforting Amanda while I stood by invisible ignited something in me. Years of swallowed hurt and quiet acceptance suddenly reached a breaking point. "No," I said firmly. "This is not happening. Not today, not after yesterday." Both women turned to look at me, surprised by my tone. Amanda did not have her shower ruined. From the photos I saw posted online, it looked like a lovely event with plenty of attention and gifts for her. What was actually ruined yesterday was what should have been one of the most important days of my life, because my entire family decided I wasn't worth showing up for. "Marlene, that's not fair," my mother began. "It wasn't about worth, it was about priorities and Amanda's need for support during this important time." "And what about my need for support? When has that ever been a priority in this family?" "You've never needed support the way Amanda does. You've always been so independent, so self-sufficient. Because I had to be, because from day one it was made clear to me that Amanda's needs would always come first, that I should just handle things on my own and not make waves." "That's not true," my mother protested weakly. "Isn't it? When have you ever put my needs above Amanda's? When have you ever stood up for me the way you constantly do for her?" My mother looked genuinely perplexed. "I don't play favorites. I love all my children equally." "Love isn't just a feeling, Mom. It's actions. It's showing up. It's making someone feel valued and important. And yesterday, you and Dad and everyone else in this family made it perfectly clear where I stand in the hierarchy of importance." Amanda, never one to cede the spotlight for long, jumped back in. "Oh, so now we're terrible people because we attended my baby shower instead of watching you walk across a stage for 2 seconds. No, you're not terrible people. You're just people who have consistently shown that my milestones, my achievements, my needs are secondary. And maybe that's fine. Maybe that's just how our family works. But what's not fine is expecting me to apologize for feeling hurt by it, or trying to make me the villain in this situation." My mother moved to sit on the couch, suddenly looking her age. Marlene, family harmony sometimes requires compromise. Sometimes we have to put others' needs above our own. I'm very familiar with that concept, Mom. I've been doing it my entire life. When has Amanda ever compromised for me? When have you or Dad ever asked her to put my needs first even once? The silence that followed was answer enough. That's what I thought, I said quietly. Amanda's face had turned an alarming shade of red. So this is all about you being jealous of me. You've probably been planning this drama for months, waiting for the perfect moment to make yourself the victim. Believe whatever you want, Amanda, you always have anyway. Girls, please, my mother interjected. This kind of conflict isn't good for anyone. Marlene, your sister, is pregnant and emotional. Can't you just apologize so we can move past this? And there it was again. The expectation that I would be the one to smooth things over to prioritize Amanda's feelings above my own legitimate hurt. No, Mom, I won't apologize, not this time. I have nothing to apologize for. You're breaking your father's heart with this attitude, my mother said, pulling out the familiar guilt card. He was so upset last night he could barely eat. I'm sorry to hear that. But maybe he should consider how his text made me feel receiving that message as I sat alone at my graduation. He was just defending your sister. You know how protective he is of her. Yes, I do know. I've always known. Just as I've always known that neither of you has ever been equally protective of me. There was a knock at the door, followed by Thomas's voice calling my name. I had forgotten we had plans to meet that morning. When I opened the door, Thomas took one look at my face and immediately sensed the situation. Everything okay? He asked, stepping inside and taking in the scene of my sister and mother on the couch. Family discussion, I said simply. More like Marlene having a selfish meltdown, Amanda muttered. Thomas's normally friendly expression hardened. He had heard enough about my family dynamics over the years to understand what was happening. I was just coming by to see how you were doing after yesterday, he said to me, pointedly ignoring Amanda's comment. Your graduation was really special. I'm sorry your family missed it. His deliberate emphasis on the word missed hung in the air. Amanda stood up awkwardly, one hand supporting her baby bump. We had a prior commitment, a very important one. So I heard, Thomas replied coolly. A baby shower that somehow couldn't be scheduled on any other day. Thomas, this is a family matter, my mother said with forced politeness. Yes, it is, he agreed. And Marlene is the family member who's owed an apology here, not the one who should be giving one. Amanda's face crumpled into tears, the reaction she had perfected whenever she was confronted or challenged. I can't believe you're letting him talk to me like this. I'm pregnant. My mother immediately moved to comfort her. It's okay, sweetheart. Let's go. This isn't good for you or the baby. As they gathered their purses and prepared to leave, my mother turned to me with a disappointed look. I expected better from you, Marlene. Family should come first. I agree, I said quietly. That's why I'm so hurt that your actions yesterday showed that I'm not considered full family. That's ridiculous, she replied. Of course you're family, but sometimes being family means making sacrifices. I've made sacrifices my whole life, Mom. I'm done being the only one expected to do so. After they left, Thomas pulled me into a hug. I'm sorry I interrupted, but when I heard what was happening, I couldn't just stand in the hallway. I'm glad you came in. It gave me the strength to stand my ground. Are you okay? Not really, but I think I will be. For the first time, I felt like I had spoken my truth to my family, even if they weren't ready or willing to hear it. What now? Thomas asked. Now I focus on moving forward. I have a nursing degree to put to use. And as I said the words, I realized they were true. Whatever happened with my family, I had options, opportunities, and a future that I had worked hard to create for myself. That was something no one could take away from me, not even the people who had consistently devalued my achievements. In the week following graduation, I heard nothing from my family. No calls, no texts, not even a passive-aggressive social media comment from Amanda. It was as if our confrontation had created a vacuum, a space where previously there had been at least the pretense of familial connection. Thomas and Sophia provided much-needed emotional support during this time. We celebrated my graduation properly, with a small dinner party at Thomas's apartment complete with a cake and thoughtful gifts. His parents presented me with a beautiful nurse's watch, and Sophia's family gave me a personalized stethoscope. "You earned this," Sophia's father said as I opened the gift. "Never let anyone make you think otherwise." Their kindness was a balm to my wounded spirit, a reminder that family could be found in places beyond blood relation. Meanwhile, I threw myself into job applications, focusing on hospitals within driving distance, but also exploring opportunities farther afield. Part of me felt I should stay close to home despite everything that geographic proximity might eventually heal the rift with my family. Another part whispered that true healing might require distance space to become fully myself, without the weight of family expectations and dynamics. 2 weeks after graduation, I received a job offer from Northwest Memorial Hospital in Seattle. The position was in their pediatric intensive care unit, exactly the specialty I had hoped for, with excellent pay and benefits. The only drawback was the location nearly 2,000 miles from Michigan. I called Thomas immediately after receiving the offer. "Seattle. That's incredible," he said. "Northwest has one of the best PICU programs in the country." "I know, but it's so far away. I'm not sure what to do." "What's holding you back? Is it your family?" The question hung between us, loaded with shared understanding of my complicated family situation. "Partly," I admitted. "Despite everything, they're still my family. Moving that far feels like giving up on ever having a normal relationship with them." "Has anything about your relationship with them ever been normal?" Thomas asked gently. "No, but people can change, can't they?" "They can, but only if they want to. From what I've seen, your family is pretty comfortable with the status quo." He was right, and we both knew it. Still, the decision weighed heavily on me. I told the hospital I needed a few days to consider their offer. That evening, there was a quiet knock at my door. I opened it to find Jacob standing in the hallway looking uncertain. "Can I come in?" he asked. I stepped aside, genuinely pleased to see my younger brother. Of all my family members, Jacob had always been the most empathetic, though his youth and position as the baby of the family had often made him a bystander, rather than an ally in family dynamics. "I've been wanting to check on you," he said, sitting on my couch. "Things got pretty intense after graduation." "That's one way to put it. Have you been sent as the family ambassador?" "No one sent me. Mom and Dad don't even know I'm here. I just wanted to see how you're doing." His apparent sincerity softened my defensive posture. "I'm doing okay, considering. How are things at home?" Jacob ran a hand through his hair, a gesture reminiscent of our father when he was uncomfortable. "Weird. Mom and Dad are acting like nothing happened, but there's this underlying tension whenever your name comes up. Amanda's still playing the victim, telling anyone who'll listen how you tried to sabotage her shower." "Of course she is," I sighed. "And everyone believes her version right. Pretty much. You know how it goes in our family." Indeed, I did. The familiar pattern Amanda claims victimhood parents rally to protect her Marlene is cast as the troublemaker who won't conform to family expectations. "What do you think happened?" I asked, curious about Jacob's perspective. He looked at his hands for a long moment before answering. "I think what always happens happened. Amanda wanted something Mom and Dad prioritized her wants over everyone else's needs, and you got hurt in the process. But this time, instead of accepting it like you usually do, you stood up for yourself." His insight surprised me. Perhaps being the youngest had given Jacob a unique vantage point, allowing him to observe family patterns without being as directly entangled in them. "That's pretty much exactly what happened," I said. "I'm just tired of always being the one expected to give in, to understand, to make allowances." "I get it. For what it's worth, I think you were right to stand your ground. I should have come to your graduation. I'm sorry I didn't." His apology, the first I'd received from any family member, brought unexpected tears to my eyes. "Thank you. That means a lot." "So what happens now?" he asked. I told him about the job offer in Seattle, my hesitation about moving so far away, the feeling that doing so might permanently alter my relationship with the family. "I think you should take it," Jacob said without hesitation. "This is your dream job, right? In exactly the specialty you want." "Yes, but it's so far from everyone." "Maybe that distance would be good for all of you. Give everyone some perspective." "Maybe." I paused, then added, "I worry about you, though, about leaving you here alone with the family dynamic." Jacob smiled wryly. I'm pretty good at flying under the radar, and I'm thinking about applying to colleges outside of Michigan for next year. Seeing you graduate made me realize there's a whole world beyond our family bubble. We talked for another hour, the conversation flowing more easily between us than it had in years. As Jacob prepared to leave, he hugged me tightly. Whatever you decide about Seattle, I support you. And I promise I'll be better about staying in touch no matter where either of us ends up. After he left, I sat thinking about our conversation, particularly his encouragement to take the Seattle position. Coming from the family member I was most concerned about leaving behind, it felt like permission to prioritize my future over family obligation. The next morning, I accepted the job offer. I would start in 6 weeks, giving me time to wrap up my life in Michigan and find housing in Seattle. When I called Thomas to tell him my decision, his response was immediate and surprising. I'm coming with you. What? But your job, your family. I can work remotely most of the time, and Seattle has plenty of engineering opportunities if I decide to switch companies. As for family, they'll understand. They want me to be happy, and I'm happiest with you. But his willingness to uproot his life to support mine was overwhelming in the best possible way. For someone who had grown up feeling like an afterthought, having someone put me first was still a novelty. 2 days later, I received a text from my mother. Family dinner this Sunday at 5. Your father and I would like to talk with you. Please come. My immediate instinct was wariness. Family dinners in our house had often been forums for airing grievances, usually about how someone frequently me had disrupted family harmony. Still, the message seemed conciliatory, and I decided to attend partly out of hope for reconciliation, and partly to inform them in person about my decision to move to Seattle. I arrived at my parents' house Sunday evening to find not just my mother and father, but also Amanda and her husband James seated in the living room. The ambush was immediate and obvious. Marlene, we're all concerned about your recent behavior, my father began without preamble after I'd barely sat down. This attitude problem needs to be addressed before it causes more family discord. So much for reconciliation. This was an intervention with me as the perceived problem. What attitude problem would that be, Dad standing up for myself when my entire family skipped my college graduation, not apologizing when I did nothing wrong? See, this is exactly what we mean, Amanda interjected. So defensive, so unwilling to consider how your actions affect others. My mother adopted her peacemaker expression. Sweetie, we're just worried about you. This isn't like you holding grudges being confrontational. Maybe it should have been like me a long time ago, I replied evenly. Maybe if I'd spoken up sooner about how I felt, we wouldn't be here now. And how exactly did you feel? My father asked, his tone suggesting he was humoring me rather than genuinely interested. I took a deep breath, determined to remain calm and articulate. I feel like I've spent my entire life being treated as less important than Amanda. I feel like my achievements have been consistently undervalued, while hers have been celebrated. I feel like I'm expected to always understand, always accommodate, always put my needs last, while no one is ever expected to do the same for me. That's ridiculous, Amanda scoffed. You've always been the golden child with your perfect grades and responsible behavior. If anyone's been overlooked in this family, it's me. Amanda, please, my mother said softly. Let's hear Marlene out. No, I want to understand this, I said, turning to my sister. How have you been overlooked? Give me concrete examples. Well, for one thing, Mom and Dad are always bragging about your academic accomplishments, she began. To whom? Because they certainly never celebrated them with me. When I made the dean's list every semester, it was met with a nod and maybe a good job. When you made the cheerleading squad, they threw a party. That's different, my father interjected. Cheerleading was a big deal for Amanda. She worked hard for that. And you think I didn't work hard for my academic achievements for my nursing degree? Of course you worked hard, my mother said soothingly. We've always been proud of you. Proud, but not present, I pointed out. Not when it mattered. One missed ceremony doesn't negate years of support, my father argued. It wasn't just the ceremony, Dad. It was what the ceremony represented, and the fact that once again Amanda's wants took priority over my needs. just like they always have. This is absurd, Amanda said, tears forming on cue. You're making me sound like some kind of spoiled princess. James, tell them how ridiculous this is. James, who had remained silent until now, looked uncomfortable. I think there might be some valid feelings on both sides here. Amanda turned to him, betrayal written across her face. What you're taking her side. I'm not taking sides, he clarified quickly. I'm just saying family dynamics can be complicated, and maybe everyone needs to listen to each other. Thank you, James, I said, genuinely appreciative of his attempt at objectivity. That's all I've ever wanted, for my feelings and experiences to be acknowledged as valid. Fine, my father said impatiently. Your feelings are acknowledged. Now can we move past this and get back to being a normal family? His dismissive tone made it clear that nothing had changed, that my perspective was being tolerated rather than understood. That depends on what you mean by normal, I replied. If normal means continuing the same patterns we've always had, with Amanda's needs always taking precedence, and me expected to just accept that, then no, I don't think we can. What do you want from us, Marlene? My mother asked, sounding genuinely perplexed. An apology for missing your graduation. Fine, we're sorry. We should have found a way to make both events work. The apology, such as it was, came too late, and with too little sincerity to heal the deeper wound. What I want is acknowledgement that this wasn't just about graduation. It was about a lifelong pattern that culminated in that day. And I want some indication that things will be different moving forward. Different how? My father demanded. You want us to stop loving your sister? Stop supporting her during her pregnancy? No. I want you to love and support both of us equally. I want you to consider my needs, sometimes, not just hers. I want to feel like I matter in this family as much as she does. A heavy silence fell over the room. I could see from their expressions that my parents genuinely didn't understand what I was asking for or why it was important. They had operated with the same family dynamic for so long that any challenge to it seemed incomprehensible. I've accepted a job in Seattle, I said into the silence. I start in 6 weeks. Seattle. My mother echoed, shock evident in her voice. But that's across the country. Yes, it is. It's a pediatric ICU position at Northwest Memorial, exactly the specialty I've always wanted. You're moving away because of one fight? Amanda asked incredulously. No, I'm moving for a job opportunity that aligns perfectly with my career goals. But I won't pretend the distance from our family dynamic isn't a factor in why I'm comfortable going so far. This is ridiculous, my father declared. You're overreacting to a missed graduation by running away. I'm not running away. I'm moving towards something positive. There's a difference. What about Thomas? My mother asked. Surely he's not supportive of you moving so far. Actually, he's coming with me. He's already looking into job transfers. This news clearly surprised them. They had perhaps assumed Thomas would be an ally in convincing me to stay. You're both making a mistake, my father said firmly. This impulsive decision will damage your relationship with your family, especially with Amanda's baby coming. You'll regret missing your niece's early years. I'll visit, I said simply. And there are phone's video calls. I don't plan to cut off contact completely. Unless you change your attitude, there might not be much contact to cut off, Amanda said coldly. I don't need someone who resents me and my child in our lives. And there it was, the familiar threat of exclusion if I didn't conform to family expectations. But for perhaps the first time, the threat didn't land with its intended impact. I had already begun to build a life outside of their approval, to find worth and connection beyond their narrow definition of family loyalty. That would be your choice, I said calmly. I would be sad to miss knowing my niece, but I won't compromise my self-respect to maintain a relationship on unequal terms. I stood up, signaling the end of the conversation from my perspective. Thank you for dinner, but I think we've said all there is to say for now. I hope we can find a healthier way to relate to each other in the future, whether that's from across the country or across the dinner table. But that will require changes from everyone, not just from me. As I drove away from my childhood home, I felt a mixture of sadness and liberation. The dinner had confirmed what I already knew: my family was not ready or willing to examine the dynamics that had caused me so much pain. But in naming those dynamics and refusing to continue participating in them on the old terms, I had taken a crucial step toward my own healing. The road ahead would not be easy. There would be more difficult conversations, more tears, more moments of doubt. But for the first time, I felt firmly centered in my own worth, regardless of whether my family could see or acknowledge it. Seattle represented not just a new job, but a new chapter, one in which I would define myself on my own terms, build relationships based on mutual respect, and perhaps eventually find a way to reconcile with my family from a position of strength rather than submission. As I pulled into my apartment complex, I noticed Thomas waiting by my door. His presence, steady and supportive, was yet another reminder that family could be chosen as well as born, that love could be found in unexpected places when we had the courage to recognize our own value. "How did it go?" he asked as I approached. "About as expected," I replied. "Nothing really changed except maybe me." He nodded understanding and took my hand. "Sometimes that's the only change we have control over, and sometimes it's enough." In that moment, I believed he might be right. 6 months later, I stood at the window of my Seattle apartment, watching rain trace patterns down the glass. The view of the Puget Sound was partially obscured by fog, but I knew the water was there, constant and vast. The transition to Seattle had been both challenging and rewarding. Northwest Memorial Hospital's pediatric ICU was everything I had hoped for professionally. The work was demanding but fulfilling, and my colleagues were supportive and appreciative of my skills. For the first time, I was in an environment where my contributions were not only acknowledged, but celebrated. Thomas had found a position with a local engineering firm after 3 months of remote work for his Michigan company. He had adjusted to the move with characteristic positivity, embracing Seattle's outdoor culture and technology scene. Our relationship had deepened with the shared adventure of building a new life together, away from the shadows of my family dynamics. We had established new routines, discovered favorite cafes and hiking trails, and slowly begun to feel at home in this city of rain and innovation. Our apartment, while small, had become a sanctuary of mutual respect and shared goals. Contact with my family had been sporadic and strained since my departure. My mother called weekly, her conversations carefully avoiding any mention of the rift that had prompted my move. She shared news of Amanda's pregnancy and later the birth of my niece Lily with an air of cautious neutrality. I had sent a gift when Lily was born, a handcrafted mobile, and a small collection of children's books. Amanda had acknowledged the gift with a brief text message, neither hostile nor warm. It was progress of a sort, though far from the reconciliation I still occasionally hoped for in quiet moments. My father remained largely silent, communicating primarily through my mother. Jacob, true to his word, had maintained regular contact through texts and occasional video calls. He had applied to several out-of-state colleges, including 2 in Washington, a development that both pleased and concerned me. I wanted him to follow his own path, not feel obligated to repair family bridges I had crossed. As I stood contemplating the misty horizon, my phone rang. The caller ID displayed my grandmother's name, a rare occurrence that immediately captured my attention. "Grandma, is everything okay?" "Everything's fine, dear. I just wanted to hear your voice. It's been too long." My relationship with my grandparents had always been positive, but distant, limited by geographic separation and my parents' control of family communications. Since graduation, contact had been even more limited, though I suspected this was more my parents' influence than my grandparents' choice. "It's good to hear from you, too. How are you and Grandpa doing?" "Oh, we're managing. These old bones don't move like they used to, but we keep busy. Grandpa's got his garden, and I've joined a book club." We chatted about their activities, the weather in Michigan versus Seattle, my job at the hospital. It was pleasant, ordinary conversation that gradually eased toward more significant topics. "Your mother tells me you're doing well at your hospital," she said, "working with the little ones in intensive care. That must be difficult but rewarding work." "It is. Some days are heartbreaking, but when a child recovers enough to leave the ICU, there's no better feeling. You always did have a caring heart even as a little girl. I remember how you used to bandage your dolls and give them medicine." The memory brought a smile. "I did love playing nurse. And now you're living that dream. We're proud of you, Marlene. I want you to know that. The simple statement delivered without qualification caused my throat to tighten with unexpected emotion. Thank you, Grandma. That means a lot. There was a brief pause before she continued. I should have been at your graduation. We both should have. It's okay. I understand you had already changed your flights for Amanda's shower. No, it's not okay. A grandmother should be there for such an important milestone. I let myself be guided by what your parents thought was best, but I should have made my own decision. Her acknowledgement, the first genuine one I'd received from any family member, felt like a cool drink after a long thirst. I've been thinking a lot about family lately, she continued, about the patterns we establish and how they can help or harm the people we love most. Your grandfather and I didn't always get it right with your father, and I see some of those same patterns playing out with you kids. What do you mean? Your father was an only child until he was 10 when your Uncle Robert came along. The attention shift was difficult for him. I think without realizing it, he recreated some of that dynamic with his own children, overcompensating with Amanda as his firstborn. The insight was illuminating, adding a layer of understanding to family patterns I had experienced, but never fully comprehended. That doesn't excuse what happened with your graduation, she added firmly, but understanding patterns can sometimes help us break them. I'm trying to break some patterns of my own, I admitted, learning to speak up instead of silently accepting to value my own needs without feeling selfish. Good. That's very good. It's never too late to establish healthier boundaries, even with family, especially with family sometimes. Then we talked for nearly an hour, covering ground we had never explored in all the years prior. When we finally said goodbye, I felt a sense of connection to my family history that had previously been missing a context for the dynamics that had shaped my childhood and early adulthood. Later that week, I received an unexpected email from Dr. Eleanor Martinez, my former professor of pediatric nursing. She was developing a mentorship program for first-generation college students in healthcare fields and wondered if I might be interested in participating as a mentor. Your journey from first-gen student to PICU nurse at a top hospital would be inspiring to many of our students, she wrote. Your perspective on overcoming challenges while maintaining academic excellence is exactly what they need to hear. The invitation resonated deeply. My own path had been lonely at times, navigating educational and career decisions without family guidance or even understanding. The opportunity to help others on similar journeys felt like a way to transform my experiences into something meaningful and positive. I agreed immediately, and within weeks was matched with 2 nursing students from backgrounds similar to my own. Our video mentoring sessions quickly became highlights of my month. Seeing their determination answering their questions and offering the encouragement and validation I had so often lacked was profoundly fulfilling. As autumn transitioned to winter, the holiday season approached with its inevitable questions about family visits and traditions. Thomas and I had declined my parents' invitation to return to Michigan for Christmas, opting instead to host a small gathering in our apartment with friends we had made in Seattle. Sophia, who had moved to Portland after graduation, drove up with her new boyfriend to join us. 3 of my colleagues from the hospital came along with 2 of Thomas's co-workers and their partners. We decorated a modest tree, prepared a potluck dinner, and exchanged thoughtful, inexpensive gifts. As I looked around our living room that evening, at the faces of people who had entered our lives relatively recently, yet showed us genuine care and appreciation, I was struck by the realization that family could be created as well as inherited. The connections at this gathering were based on mutual respect and shared values rather than obligation or history. The evening was winding down when my phone rang. It was Jacob. "Merry Christmas, sis," he said, when I answered, stepping into the bedroom for privacy. "Merry Christmas. How's everything there?" The usual Christmas chaos. Amanda and James brought Lily, of course. She's actually pretty cute when she's not crying, which is about 20% of the time. I saw the pictures Mom sent. She does look adorable. Yeah. Hey, I have some news. I got accepted to University of Washington for next fall. Full scholarship. Jacob, that's amazing. Congratulations. Thanks, I haven't told mom and dad yet. Wanted to tell you first since you're kind of my inspiration for breaking away. The thought that my choices had influenced my brother to pursue his own path brought mixed emotions, pride mingled with concern. I'm so proud of you, but make sure you're doing this for yourself, not because of me or our family situation. It's for me, he assured me. I've been researching computer science programs for months, and UW is one of the best. The scholarship is what makes it possible. And yeah, being closer to you is a bonus, but it's not the main reason. Well, I'm thrilled either way. We'll have to start looking for an apartment for you. About that, I was hoping maybe I could crash with you and Thomas for a few weeks while I look for a place. I know it's asking a lot. Of course you can stay with us. We'd love to have you. After we hung up, I rejoined the Christmas gathering with renewed spirits. Jacob's news felt like a bridge between my past and future, a connection to my family that could exist on new, healthier terms. As the holiday season gave way to a new year, I found myself reflecting on the journey of the past 12 months. From the heartbreak of graduation to the fresh start in Seattle, from painful confrontations to new connections and opportunities, the year had transformed me in ways I was only beginning to fully appreciate. The pain of my family's absence at graduation had not disappeared entirely. There were still moments when the memories stung, when I wondered why my achievements had never been valued as they should have been. But those moments no longer defined me or determined my choices. I had learned slowly, and sometimes painfully, that my worth was not dependent on my family's recognition. That speaking my truth, even when it disrupted comfortable patterns, was essential to my well-being. That boundaries were not selfish, but necessary for healthy relationships. That sometimes the family we create through choice can provide the support and validation our birth family cannot. One evening in late January, as Thomas and I prepared dinner in our small kitchen, he paused in chopping vegetables to look at me intently. "What?" I asked, noticing his gaze. "I was just thinking about how different you seem now compared to a year ago. You stand taller, you speak with more confidence, you laugh more easily." I considered his observation. "I feel different. More comfortable in my own skin, I guess. More certain of my own value." "You've always been valuable, Marlene. I'm just glad you can see it for yourself now." His words echoed what I had come to understand through months of reflection and healing. My graduation day, painful as it had ultimately been a catalyst for necessary change, forcing me to confront patterns I had accepted for far too long and choose a different path forward. That night, I found myself looking through old family photos I had brought to Seattle, examining them with new eyes. In image after image, the pattern was visible, Amanda's center stage parents beaming proudly. Myself on the periphery, sometimes literally half out of frame. But in more recent photos, particularly those taken in Seattle with Thomas, with new friends with my mentees, I was fully present, fully visible, fully valued. The contrast was stark and revealing. It wasn't that I had changed fundamentally as a person, but rather that I had removed myself from an environment that consistently diminished me and placed myself in one that appreciated me. The results spoke for themselves. As I closed the photo album, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. My journey was far from complete, my relationship with my family still evolving, but I had found solid ground from which to move forward. I had learned to value myself independently of external validation, to create connections based on mutual respect, rather than obligation to speak my truth, even when uncomfortable. These lessons, hard won through disappointment and confrontation, had become the unexpected gifts of that graduation day when I walked across the stage alone. In seeking my family's approval, I had instead found something more valuable: my own voice, my own strength, my own sense of worth, and that I realized was an achievement worth celebrating with or without an audience. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories. Remember, sometimes the family we choose can provide the love and support our birth family cannot. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I hope it helps you find strength in your own.